Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the East End for Evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have the return of SCP-Cember, SCP-1075, the Forest, normally known as Vince. So, yeah, it's December, as this episode is getting posted, so we are into SCP-Cember once again.
You know we gotta.
Yeah, it's a tradition now. It's literally a Christmas tradition.
Yeah, it is.
That we have done for like years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
And we're never gonna run out of SCPs.
Well, no, because they make more SCPs than the amount we do in SCP-Cember.
Exactly. Yeah. Even if we were to do like even if we were to like completely devote the show to SCPs, we would never get them done.
Yeah, never.
But that's not the point. The point is we select SCP entries from a list that we've accumulated over the year and pull it out like a sack full of presents and see what we find. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure why or how this ended up on my SCP list. This one specifically. Like SCP-1075, I don't know why it's on the list or how it got on the list. Like I don't remember who sent it to us. I don't remember if it was from a YouTube comment or if it was from an email. I've looked, like I've did a little bit of skimming. I can't find anything about it. It's on our list now. So, and it feels rather appropriate, honestly, given that type of thing for an SCP to just pop up on our queue. But I digress. SCP-1075, the Forest, normally known as Vince, is by Dr. Cimmerian on the SCP Foundation website, scp-wiki.wikidot.com.
My favorite website.
So you can check it out there. Otherwise, we're going to dive into it and give our recommendations and whatnot. Initial recommendation, I'm going to recommend it.
I am also going to recommend it.
I'll recommend it too. It's good and weird.
Well, let's dive into the entry and find out exactly why. So the rundown I've got for this is SCP-1075 is a memetic anomaly in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, the effects of which makes the permanent residents of the town believe that a nearby forest of 493 aspen trees is in fact a well-connected member of the community named Vince Aspenson, known by the Foundation as SCP-1075-1. The anomaly plants
Nice.
whole portions of false memories in individuals residing in the town to give affiliation, familiarity, and even in-depth relationships and drama with the SCP entity. Once a resident leaves the town for good, permanently moves out of the town and such, it appears that they lose any and all memory of the individual known as Vince and interactions with them. And it's not until documents are forged or manipulated so that they are back in the town that they suddenly get those memories back. A Foundation task force is in play on site, fencing off the forest and disseminating counter-memetic action to manipulate the locals into viewing the anomaly under a negative light. So far, with a successful turnaround, though there is some hints that the anomaly is actually aware of the Foundation's actions and wants it to stop. Finn. Yeah, that's basically the entity and the entry. It's a memetic thing that is affected that is surrounded around a forest that makes people think that it's a person. So, yeah. Do we have? I would usually go into our everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisition. Do we have one? Did anybody find anything for Grammar Inquisition?
I have a conjunction junction.
All right, then.
I have a normal grammar one, yes.
Okay. In that case,
everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions.
at this point, And now, and it's nope.
Just do all the intros one after another. Well, he could start his it story, and I can go through my grammar simultaneously, and then you could just take those tracks and lay them out properly, right?
No, don't do that, please. Future me will kill me.
Yeah, not me. Yeah. All right. Either way.
But yeah.
And next stop,
I go first.
Okay. I thought it was gonna be okay. My bad.
Doesn't he normally finish with conjunction junction, or
But he usually finishes. He usually does. So like,
he does all his shit, and then
I
go.
do my shtick, and if I don't do my shtick, then Mikey moves on to his shtick, and then he does, and then you go onto your shtick.
Occasionally, he has pulled out a conjunction junction after me, though.
First Cultist, then Mikey, then Fry.
Okay, conjunction junction, go.
It was listed as a member of the town council, considered active in local charitable organizations, and a focus of romantic interest for several female and at least one male resident. It was an easy credit for me since my grandmother was from Mexico. It was fast, but Pagosa Springs is beautiful in the spring. It takes several minutes for her to recover enough to continue. It's fine, Miss Alberida. But eventually, I guess I did. And I couldn't help him. So you got a divorce. It's our future as much as the kid's future. And then? It was a couple of years after that, I called him about his parents. It's just, I've known Vince since high school. And even though he got an astronomy degree, he was slumming it teaching high school physics. So the accusations hit you pretty hard? But he says he didn't do it. It doesn't sound like he's doing all right. But he's said some stuff that makes me wonder. It is believed that there are no longer any SCP-1075 sufferers currently sympathetic to SCP-1075-1. Finn.
I was like, it's so disjointed.
Weird.
I know.
It's almost like that happens when Mikey grabs a bunch of sentences through the story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts, because there's always better words to use, and strings them together into a story.
Yes, although I will contest some of those were dialogue, but
Yeah.
It's just like I was like trying to like follow along and try like parse something together with it, and just like, all right, when's the it was something ridiculous, but like that never really came. It kind of like blended into like almost like we're hearing like one side of a story to a degree, but yeah, that is just how it is sometimes. Gamer, what do you have for Grammar Inquisition?
Yeah, I got one. Under no circumstances are individual trees considered part of SCP-1075-1 by local residents to be damaged by Foundation activities. So when I read...
whoa.
Yeah, see? I stumbled over this a couple of times when I read it, partially because, like, the SCP hasn't been explained yet as to what it is, and, like, a couple of commas would really help with this, because it's... At the start of it, almost seems like under no circumstances are individual trees considered part of SCP-1075, period. Yeah. But that's not what it's meaning.
No, it isn't.
So if it was commaed out, it would be, under no circumstances are individual trees considered part of SCP-1075-1 by local residents to be damaged by Foundation activities. Or you can put that center part from considered to residents in brackets, maybe.
I was thinking
completely pull it out, or reorganize it so it's like this: trees that are considered part of SCP-1075-1 by local residents are not to be damaged under any circumstances.
Yeah.
Actually, it probably needs a comma.
Or by
there.
damaged by Foundation activities under no circumstances.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah, like, cause like I remember kind of skipping over or like tripping over that a little bit. It was like, oh, trees considered. It was like under no circumstances are individual trees considered part of SCP-1075-1.
Meanwhile, that's the entire premise.
That's the entire premise of the story. Yeah, it's like, oh no, under no circumstances, comma, are individual trees considered. Or individual trees considered part of. Yeah, it's really weirdly like
It is.
We get it. Like it's really weirdly like written the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think you definitely like hit it on the head with brackets though, because I think that would also like help it tremendously.
Yeah, brackets is the easiest, or reorganization.
Yeah.
But that's the only one I got here.
All right, then on to actual thoughts. So I'm going to start with the nickname of this SCP entry in the list. So like. The forest, normally known as Vince, sounds an awful lot like the artist formerly known as Prince. I'm on to you, Dr. Cimmerian, assuming that is the person who coined the nickname in the entry list. Because sometimes, like, who knows, maybe like somebody else like coined the nickname. But yeah. That definitely does seem like I think we had this conversation like off recording.
Yes,
like,
we absolutely did.
Like that might very well be the entire premise of this essay, like the inspiring like note for this entire entry was just like the forest normally known as Vince.
Yeah.
I mean, I smile at it because it's just like, that's a nice rhyme.
Yes, I do appreciate. I do wonder if like the name was different before, and then like someone brought up the idea of the pun. So then he's like, "Oh, okay, I'm changing the forest name to Vince now instead of Steve or whatever it was."
Yeah, exactly. Maybe, who knows? And then the next thing I have are the images that are presented in this entry. They work really well for me. The pre-founding Pagosa Springs photo and the ID card of Vince Aspenson. Part of me was actually wondering if the figure in the old photo that's shown is supposed to be suggestive of SCP-1075-1, or if the trees behind that person in the upper right are actually supposed to, like, because they're both kind of in the upper right of the photo, like the little like kind of underquote says, and like is the image in that kind of vein, like is the image has this figure there in the same kind of area, so like. Is it supposed to play on the idea that the reader/viewer might have fallen under the influence of Vince? Like just something I was like as I was like looking at this image, I was like, "Hey, that's a really cool image. Like that's a nice image." Like shows like, and then I read the little like blurb. It's like a historical image of Pagosa Springs prior to its founding. SCP-1075-1 appears in the upper right of the photo, and then you look at that, it's like, "Oh yeah, there's a forest. There's also a guy there." Wait, is that supposed to be Vince, or is that is the forest in the background supposed to be Vince?
I don't think so because I don't
Am
think
I reading too deeply into it?
You might be, because realistically, look at the picture, then vertically go down half.
Yeah.
The trees are above half, so it's an upper right.
That's true. Yeah,
the dude is below or mid, right in the middle. So it's referring to the trees, although him being there is an interesting kind of connection you can make for sure.
Yeah. It makes you kind of like I'm not saying like, oh, like clearly like that's the thing. I'm just saying it's like it definitely might make you think as you're looking at it. It's like, wait, is the trees or the person?
Yeah, because if you start, because like the first thing I did was look at the picture.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, what the hell is this referring to? Is it referring to the guy? I know it's about trees because we talked about it off recording, but yeah.
Yeah. And then with the I just love doctored ID cards and documentation. Like it just adds an extra level of immersion. And I also just love the information that's provided on that document. Like it's just like like height 94 feet 11 inches.
That's fine.
Weight a lot. It's like I can't. I've never been good at saying those high numbers, or reading those high numbers. It's like 100,063. I don't know. Like it's ridiculous.
163,183 pounds.
Thank you. Yes. Also, goddamn.
Yes.
And then like date of birth, like the February 10th, 201 AD.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just
He's
love
a
it.
voter, though.
Yeah, he's a voter. His eyes are green, and his sex is male.
Yeah.
Also, it's interesting. Yeah, like there's a notation in like the listing of like all the documentation, or like there's a footnote that says like apparently the printed version of his name, Vince Apsenson, is presented there. But then like when he signed his name, it was Vincent Aspenson, and like every time you hear the name, it's Aspenson, not Absenson. So there's like a weird typo in the actual like legal documentation. But
Yeah.
Because he's not like a real person, so it's entirely possible that people like got the wrong wording for things.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, government agencies can get names wrong, so
yeah.
I
True.
mean, it's not that big of a stretch.
I mean, honestly, like as somebody who has a last name that people find very hard to spell, I understand.
Yeah, mine too.
They just can't get cultist properly.
They just can't get in yellow.
Yeah, it's actually it's in space yellow, but they always say it's like in yellow. Is it? Oh, is that Spanish? In yellow.
Or they just don't put the W on the end because my name's too damn long.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. They always think my last name is cultiste, and they want to add an E. Anyway, I digress. I'm going to move on to the next thing here, which is from Special Containment Procedures, Mobile Task Force Theta 29, Michael Palins, are to be utilized to manipulate public opinion of SCP-1075-1 in the local community. So, I really like the insinuation here that they've entered this counter-memetic campaign to try and like halt this thing's like spread, or like just to maintain, like contain it and stuff like that. By also giving the task force, like the task force, an individual's name. But I kind of wish that the entry went a little bit more into that, like actually like showed that like maybe the townsfolk think that like the entire task force is one person. And like
that would have been interesting, yeah,
because like it's that's what it seemed like to me. Like when they referenced this, it was like, oh, is this gonna be like sort of a counter campaign sort of battle, like a social conflict where like they're trying to like engineer this like other entity to stop this entity.
So Michael Palin is like a British actor and comedian.
Well, yeah,
it's like an actual person.
Well, I mean, like every name is somewhere in the world.
I mean, that's fair.
Like I'm sure there's a Vince Aspenson somewhere, like somewhere in the world.
Let's see what Google says.
Oh boy.
A few hours later.
SCP-1075 is the first thing that shows up.
That's awesome. Is there no other like? Oh, there's some other people. Like there's like there's like a Vincent from some old gentleman who died in 1998. There's like.
I'm getting lots of other like random miscellaneous Vinces.
Oddly enough, I'm getting a Keg Steakhouse on Facebook. Yeah, so again, like I'm sure again, like there are like name, like again, like no name's original anymore. Like there's literally like 5 billion plus people on the planet. There's gonna be a name. But yeah, it is also interesting, like when they just pull like a fictional name and it turns out to be something real. So. But yeah, I just kind of wish like this entry had gone a little bit further into the whole like task force like activities and like under the name Michael Palins, like yeah. But I'll move on to the next thing I have.
Basically,
here.
two fake people like fighting each other.
Yeah, it's a fake off.
It's a fake out.
Yeah. No, it's a fake off because it's like face off but faking out. Yeah.
Nice.
But I'll move on to the next thing I have, which is description. Under the description section, SCP-1075 is an anomalous psychological effect which is extant among permanent residents of Pagosa Springs, Colorado. those subject to SCP-1075's effects believe a clonal colony of 493 trees belong to the species Populus tremuloidus, and which are designated SCP-1075-1, is a human resident of Pagosa Springs, Colorado. So, Pagosa Springs is a real town in Colorado. And, I mean, of course I looked it up because I'm me.
Yeah, of course.
And then as it turns out, basically every location in this document, in this entry, is real. Like Greendale, which is near Denver. There's no name for the place in Maine, but like Maine's exists. The one thing actually that's interesting is, so like in the driver's license card that we get, it says it actually gives us an exact date, exact address of where you can find the trees. 65 Archuleta County, or County Road, Pagosa Springs, Colorado. While I couldn't find the road on Google, Archuleta County is the county where Pagosa Springs exists. So, yeah. Again, I like when there's real places that you can look up, for better or worse in some cases. But also looking at the type of tree that Vince is supposed to be, or Vince is like the Populus,
It's supposed to be.
Well, yeah. So that Populus tremuloidus is it's basically a cottonwood tree, like it's aspen. So like hence why his last name is also Aspenson. He's the son of Aspen. But yeah, if you look at those trees, like it's similar to like a birch tree, although they are separate species of tree. But like birch and cottonwood trees have that like kind of creepy eye pattern in their bark. Like, because they're all like white bark, like white paper-like bark, and they've got those black kind of like eyes that eye patterns from like where like branches would like branch knots would be. And so it already is. It's actually kind of like a perfect tree to use for like a creepypasta or a horror thing, because they already have that kind of creepy effect with the pattern. But
yeah, for sure.
And so on the whole thing of like the fact that this anomaly is this like creating this psychological effect upon the residents of Pagosa Springs, and believing that a group of trees is actually a person kind of thing. Maybe it's because I've been prepping for some Shadowrun recently on One Less Die. Sorry, Mikey.
Yes.
But I could see this happening as a free spirit, perhaps even a free plant spirit, in the world of Shadowrun. Who has laid claim to a region and indoctrinated the local inhabitants of the town on the land with a similar dominating zone of influence. Perhaps it's even some kind of geomancy ritual, or like some kind of geomancy like ritual circle, or some kind of like anomaly effect that was laid down, and is like doing something to the people. Like they're like basically living in like kind of a la la land, dreamland, where they think this sacred forest, or this forest that's being used as part of the ritual, is actually an individual by a bunch of like druidic or like nature loving shamans and stuff like that. And I have some other ideas like down the way in this, but I'll get to them as we get to those quotes from the story. But yeah, just again, getting some big free spirit, nature spirit vibes from this creature, from this anomaly to me.
Yeah.
Next thing here, from the document list in the description. Vince apparently has a bachelor's degree in astronomy, and I just like that this SCP has a bachelor's in astronomy, as it is a forest of trees that just kind of sits there and stares up at the sky all day. So of course that they'd their part of their personality quirk, or their false identity, they'd have like a hobby or a career where they just stare up into the night sky.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, it makes an odd sense. It makes an odd amount of sense when dealing with a plant-based or tree-based anomaly.
Plant-based. It sounds like it's like a food.
Yeah. It's what is it? No meat anomalies.
Yeah.
But yeah, move on to the next thing with This is from Elizabeth Alberetta's interview. Though Miss Alberetta had no memory of SCP-1075-1, an attempt was made to change her legally registered address to inside Pagosa Springs city limits for the duration of this interview. Despite being conducted outside of SCP-1075's normal area of effect, this was sufficient to affect the temporary restoration of Miss Alberetta's false memories of SCP-1075's -1. So that's a really interesting quirk to the mechanic or to the memetic function of this infection. It's an interesting vector, is that it's not just the exclusive. It's not just exclusive to the zone of influence that this thing is in. It's not like the proximity, but it's also even a connection via documented paperwork, falsified or otherwise, that would reconnect the victim to the area where the zone of influence is. Which gives it kind of a bit more of a creepy scope to me, because it's the fact that somebody could just falsify some information, some documentation, some legal documentation that would have you be a resident of this location where you were infected in the first place, and suddenly it rekindles that automatically, remotely.
It's weird how it can just do that.
Yeah, it's almost like some kind of it's a weird wireless trigger for your mind, or a psychic trigger, basically, or subconscious trigger even. And then I even wonder what would happen to someone who steals a person's identity from that place, because that's a big thing. People stealing people's IDs or identification to basically leech off of their funds and such. What would happen if somebody stole a person's identity from Pagosa Springs? Would they suddenly have all these this rush of memories that and would it even be would it be as true as the ones that were in the town, or would it be sort of that these are false but they feel so real, and then you just have a psychotic episode as your mind is just constantly rolling composure checks as you're being invaded by these false memories of a lifetime of knowing somebody?
Yeah, you'd be having a bad time for sure.
Yeah, I think it would be a really interesting story for the Foundation to have to deal with. Oh god, this person stole the identity of a resident from Pagosa Springs, and now they're talking about they're going crazy and talking about this Vince guy. It's oh crap, we gotta go deal with this person. And that's the real so it takes a real world kind of issue with false or identity theft, and then adds in that element of supernatural, kind of the comeuppance or the karma and your consequences to your choices. Also really fucked up that it gave Miss Alberetta memories of giving birth and then losing a child.
Yeah, that's extremely fucked up.
It is an anomaly, so it's not necessarily human in its motives. If this thing has something like motives, it might have an intelligence behind it, as we find out kind of at the near the end of the story. Or this is all just the mechanical kind of pattern work that's of the implanted memories and hallucinations. So it might not actually have a human or any kind of intelligence. It's just kind of a triggering effect. But it's still why? Maybe just to create that out of the relationship cycle for her, while still maintaining a sympathetic link to the anomaly for some reason. It really does kind of beg the question as to why is it doing this?
Maybe just for believability, because it's not perfect all the time. It's basically freaking rolling a dice every time it interacts with someone, whether it's going to be a good or a bad or an indifferent sort of interaction with that person.
Yeah, that's it definitely it asks those questions and and kind of merits a discussion in that regards to that. So, and then the next thing I have here is from Lambda 4 document. On March 8th, 2013, law enforcement officers traveled to SCP-1075-1's listed address and remained inside their car for 24 minutes. Following this, the officers reported that SCP-1075-1 was in custody and traveled to the local police station. Though this event appeared to be peaceful, charges of resisting arrest were included in the original indictment. This is one of those moments in this entry where I think you could have a lot of fun if you were to like use this as inspiration for a game scenario. The idea of people just claiming to do things like NPCs in a town that you're investigating, claiming events, claiming scenarios that are completely fabricated in their minds. And like you get to see that in action, like as an outsider viewer, like a player character, like investigating and like following somebody who's like going out to do something, and then they just sit in their car and just like like just like mouth open, just like eyes rolled up in their head, or just zone out like in their car for like 24 minutes solid before like going back to like where they were. It's like, yeah, no, we arrested that guy. He's fine.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost creepier if they're just sitting there, just staring into blank space, but not like visibly looking like they're being messed with.
Yeah, exactly. Because when somebody just like freezes up and just like doesn't look like like just completely like their mind just completely like freezes as they're locked into like that. It almost has this more creepy effect than like again the more kind of Hollywood theatrical like zone out kind of effect, like you said.
Yeah. Plus, other people witnessing this wouldn't question it because okay, the dude's just zoning out or something, you know?
Yeah. And
adds
again,
a little bit more believability, even though like everyone is brainwashed here, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And again, back to Shadowrun. Sorry, Mikey.
Hell yeah.
On a tech side of things, rather than being something a spirit based, although you could probably make the spirit as well, like some kind of magical effect as well. On a tech side of thing, for the origin of this anomaly, what if it's some kind of bypassing signal to the brain, or some kind of nanite swarm in the air that infects a person's like mind, and implants these simulations within their psyche? Basically, some kind of like psychosurgery or gaslighting situation. Like it's basically and like with nanites, you'd never be able to really tell unless you had some kind of special gear to like pick them up in the air. And with like a signal, like you'd have to like have some kind of like specialized gear to like really like figure out where the signal's coming from, because there's some signals that are so high frequency or like the frequency is so high or off slightly that like you can't even hear it with the naked ear, right? So so it could be affecting certain people different ways in this town, or because they're all permanent residents that are being affected. It's basically just like indoctrination through exposure. So like they've just been here long enough with the exposed signal or whatever it is that they're now affected. They're completely like under its wing.
Yeah, if they move away, they're still connected to it as long as they are officially living there, because they have been connected to the Vince through exposure already.
It kind of reminds me of actually in Mass Effect. So in the first Mass Effect, there's an individual that you encounter who's working with the Reapers, and she is like very much like she was working on like the signal that Sovereign was giving off, the big giant like menacing robot in Mass Effect 1. That was indoctrinating people, but she was worried that she was going to become indoctrinated herself, and so she leaves. Like you have a chance to like basically have her like you spare her and basically have her get away, presumably before she's become indoctrinated herself. However, you encounter her in the second game, and then in the third game you see her again, or you don't see her, but you hear about her. Basically, she was actually indoctrinated very subtly. So when the full-on invasion of the Reapers happened, and they start using their indoctrination signals, she was already infected. So it basically just triggered in her mind, and she went off and destroyed a colony. Something along those lines. It was, but yeah, it's sort of a delayed reaction, or a latent trigger, basically. And that's kind of what this thing gives off. Again, like it kind of seems like that kind of creepy, like psychic domination, but like in some people it's like like they're able to, like when they leave the town, like leave the town's residence permanently, it goes away until they are reconnected, like you said. So yeah, just I could use this for so many good ideas for a game. Sorry, Mikey, and honestly, sorry, Dave, or sorry, gamer. Because you're the one that's going to
run into this.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I have to not metagame it. Like,
If you remember what's happening, it was like, oh
yeah.
shit. Or it's Biff from Back to the Future. It's like something awfully familiar about all this.
Yeah, basically.
That's why I'll just wait until I spring the trap.
Tomorrow.
yeah, exactly.
You'll never suspect it tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. And then my last thing here for my actual thoughts. This is from the interview with Jennifer Smalls, or sorry, Jennifer Small. I kept wanting to call her Jennifer Smalls because of Biggie Smalls.
Stuck in that too, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, this is with the interview with Jennifer Small. He says he's been inside a building the people trying to frame him have put up on his property. He says there's proof there that he's telling the truth. Agent Stevens is then replying, I can look into that for you. Yeah. Did he see where it was? Jennifer Small. Just that it was on his property. Go talk to him and he can take you right to it. Agent Stevens. I will do that then. So like this right here was like a really fun little bit, like, because it hints that like there is an intelligence in the anomaly, or that the false identity of the anomaly has its own intelligence, or has its own awareness, at least. Maybe not intelligence, but an awareness that it has been observing the Foundation's activities while they are observing it, and is aware in some way as to their counteractions to its abilities and its influence. I just think that's a really nice, creepy thing to have at the end of this entry, like basically at the end of this entire thing, is that like up until now we've just kind of been treating this thing as just some kind of like psychological anomaly that's happening, and then we get a little bit of taste of like, oh no, the anomaly's aware of us. Yeah, it's actually aware, and so it adds that extra level of like. It stacks on to the anomaly's unknowableness, its inscrutability. And now we know that it has an awareness, or there might even be an intelligence behind it. And that's even creepier. So like, I dig that. Because when you give something an intelligence, I'm not saying like, oh, the ability to speak, because the ability to speak does not mean you're intelligent. I would not go that far. I have joked in the past, but you are an intelligent individual.
If you say so. I wouldn't know.
Wow. But yeah, in this case, like, yeah, like I honestly think like something that is like unknowable to us, like we can't really comprehend because of like we don't know its motives or anything like that. Or at first we think it's just like some kind of chaotic thing in nature, like an anomaly. And then the fact that it has an intelligence means that it has its own motives, it has its own agendas, or it might have its own goals, as alien as they are. And that, like, even if we can't understand them, we know that they might have those, which means it has intent. It's not random chance. Which is, I feel like, more sinister in some ways than if it doesn't have an intelligence, if it isn't just random chaos in the universe. But I digress on my
Makes you wonder like what its actual motives are.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because like again,
what's it trying to do?
Like, is it just trying to chill? Like, honestly, like it honestly just could be like, hey, I'm Vince. I just want to hang out. I just want to be a member of the community. I'm lonely. I've been here since 250. I've been here since like 200 AD, man. Like, you guys are the first like people that I've been able to actually talk to. That would be actually really fucked. Like that's also kind of fucked up in its own way, because like the establishment, the Foundation, is perceiving it as a threat, or as a possible threat, when really this is a buddy horror.
Yeah, at that point, yeah, for sure.
Like, he's not doing anything. He's not doing anything harmful. Like he's causing some like some distress, some minor psychological stress and drama. And yes, he is kind of gaslighting, which is kind of not great. But it is an alien entity or an alien presence that has just been like hanging out. It just wants to be part of the community. So
it's not really being malicious
per
se.
like it again, like the the only reason it's not really malicious, it's so much as just like it's created like these fabricated memories that are creating sort of trauma and drama to certain individuals. But like that's no more different than like a simulated relationship. So it's kind of a gray area, really. So but like really the only reason like people have a negative light on this thing is because the Foundation is doing some counter mimetic action against it. So like who's the bigger monster here?
Vince, because he's manipulating people.
And I mean, technically, in terms of like size, like I mean, he is the bigger monster. But
yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. It's definitely one of those gray areas. Like, who is the monster here? The Foundation or the SCP entity? And it's like, I mean, literally, the monster is the SCP entity. But like, what is he doing that's so terrible? Outside of maybe, I guess I guess this is sort of actually a similar situation to like what Wanda did in WandaVision. Spoilers ahead. Where like she accidentally took over an entire town and manipulated them into living out their existence as various television sitcom genres.
Oh, is that what the premise was?
Yeah. The entire premise of WandaVision is basically each episode was a different genre of TV like show that Wanda grew up on, and it was all an unconscious coping mechanism combined with her chaos magic.
See, I never actually watched that.
Yeah, but like how would the people of Pagosa Springs feel if it was all revealed that like they were being manipulated by this weird anomaly of trees? Would they have the same kind of reaction that the citizens had after WandaVision, which are like, fuck Wanda, she fucking like controlled us for almost a year. Yeah.
You can't really be angry at them for thinking that because it's a little fucked up.
Yeah, it all depends on like, I guess like I think the gray area lies in like the intent. Like, is this thing doing this like on purpose? Is there some kind of insidious intelligence behind it, or is this just like it doesn't realize what it's doing is wrong kind of thing? Because again, like cassette, like al dente rigor mortis, consent is good. That has been an al dente rigor mortis message of the day. Consent is good, especially with psychic brain fuckling.
Yes.
But I digress, and I am done with my actual thoughts. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
Yeah. So, the thing is, like, I feel like this is a story about a forest that just wants to get to know humans.
Yeah.
And Vince did nothing wrong, and the SCP is causing false accusations against him to make the townsfolk not despise him.
I mean, fair. Why can't we be friends? Why can't we be friends? He needs to go meet Vince. Joey Fucknuts.
Yeah, because I mean, yes, he did cause psychological trauma, technically, because the person believed they gave birth and
then the
lost
baby died
and...
in a very horrific way, I might add, like, or a very traumatic way too. Like, again, the quote is like, "I didn't know babies could get that kind of cancer." It's like, oh god. Like,
it's pretty uncool, honestly.
No, like, yeah, like again, therein lies the gray of this conundrum. It's like I agree with you, Mikey. Like, on the surface, it doesn't seem like Vince did anything wrong, except he did. But does he know he's doing wrong?
But what if he was just trying to find out if he could mate with humans? Like,
that's true.
And the answer was no.
Oh
But you
God,
don't
yeah.
know that.
Yeah. He ran a simulation. Oh Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, before that, like you get that he's an outstanding member of the town on city council, um, is charitable.
Yep.
Like everybody likes him until the SCP jumps in.
But to what I think what Gamer was saying earlier is as well. Does everybody like him because of him or because of him? Like, do they like him because do they like him because like voluntarily, or do they like him because that's what he's implanting in their minds?
Every single memory that they have of him is
false.
something he did not do.
Yeah.
He hasn't done any of this because he's a fucking forest. So
Yeah.
he's a
Or-
liar.
Or a psychic anomaly that's just using yeah. Like I'm also like what if this anomaly is just like the psychic buildup of that trees, like of those trees, like they've like created like sort of a high they've created a consciousness from their energies into a like they're the first like copse of trees that have actually been able to like interact with humanity through like psychic waves. But yeah, no, like going back to the actual like suggestions here, like yeah, he's implanting these memories. He's not like actually like interacting with them directly. He's manipulating them indirectly.
Then the question is, does he know any better?
That also lies in the truth, because like, is it actually a true intelligence, or is it just an anomaly that doesn't know what it's doing? Because again, it's sort of inscrutable and inhuman. So
we don't even know if the trees are what he is.
No, exactly. Yeah, we're just
he could be using the forest as a cover, and it's the actual intelligence is in some crypt that's buried in the forest, and it's some like psychic monster or some shit.
It could also just be a psychic buildup that's just anchored to the space-time location where those trees are. Yeah. Like it doesn't even have to. It could be something cosmic. It could be something psychological, something ethereal, something in the earth, something in the air, the trees. We have no idea, and that's what makes this anomaly really interesting. Is because it's so unknowable otherwise.
Even if it is a situation where like they banish some fucking demon into a crypt there, and then the trees grew up out of the crypt and all that, and he's able to connect to the town around through the trees or whatever. But he's still just kind of like a bro now. Like he's like, okay, whatever. They got me. I'm stuck here forever. I'm gonna at least just chill and hang out in my retirement. Like you can't hate him too much for that, at least.
I'm also just as you're in that, I'm just taking some notes for Shadowrun. Sorry, Mike.
Fuck I gotta shut up.
Demon beneath the earth, imprisoned and dead, but its soul is still connected to trees that have grown there like a geomancy ritual.
Shadowrun's so good.
It's so good. So good and so bad at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. No, again, like I love this conversation we just had. Like it's like what, like, is it bad? Is it good? Like, does it have an intelligence? Like, and I'm not hearing any actual concrete answers because like that's kind of the
we
point.
don't have any. Oh,
exactly.
The story unfortunately just kind of stops before we get any of that because maybe just the Foundation doesn't know anymore yet because that's where they are in the story. But that's my jumping into my thoughts a little bit here. Yeah. That's one gripe I have with this is the story just sort of stops. It doesn't end.
Well, and
you know what I mean.
I understand like your gripe with that. That's also the point of a lot of SCPs because like it's supposed
because they're
an
ongoing investigation.
Ongoing investigations, and like on a more meta level, they are supposed to be just like thought provoking. Like what we did just now. Congrats, we've achieved the goal of this SCP entry. Probably is just like to have a conversation as to what the hell Vince is. So, but yeah. So Mikey, you're still on team Vince.
Yep.
All right.
And that's into my actual thoughts.
All right. Gamer.
I think I've actually chimed in on all of my thoughts.
That's fine. I mean, that was a very organic conversation and discussion we had. So. I've been hitting home runs all day with that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I guess if that's it for actual thoughts, we move on to final thoughts. So yeah, I'm still gonna recommend it. Maybe conditionally. Really just like, and the condition is more just like a consideration, like know your audience kind of thing, like to show the side of the SCP that is not super spooky or violent, but just weird and potentially existential. Because like Vince is kind of creepy, but he's not like some of the various other SCPs where like don't blink or you die kind of thing. It's more of just like it's sort of a chill horror, because it's like it's this thing in this place doing a weird thing and kind of fucking around with the people there. But it's not
Vince is fucking a Berenstain Bears situation. Like, where like you don't know which way is the right way to say it, because it's just that level of like it doesn't really matter too much.
Yeah.
He's sort of chill.
Yeah. Like surface level, he's not doing anything. Looking a little bit deeper into like what it is doing is kind of fucked up. So, but like that's it. Like it's a high concept SCP entity, where like it gets people like speculating, gets people talking, and it's just kind of weird and fucked up. So yeah, and certainly it's really good for game fodder, as we've sort of alluded to in this episode. So, but yeah, no, that's my recommendation. I will recommend it. Mikey, the sensory.
Well, I feel like this one, it made me feel bad for Vince, because I mean the false accusations against him and
Justice for
all
Vince
that.
hashtag.
So I'm going to recommend this to get the word out, that because it says right at the beginning that the SCP falsified reports. So
Greater good, though.
know.
Was it though? Was it?
Okay, I know you guys are like pro Vince, so I get it. You guys are already indoctrinated. But
Hey, just because I have a summer home in Pagosa Springs does not mean I'm indoctrinated.
It kind of actually does.
Wait.
Yeah. You might want to reread this.
Yeah. So, yeah, a recommendation from me.
All right. And gamer.
Yeah, as we talked about, it's like a sort of fun thought experiment. Like, we don't even know what Vince is by the end of it, like, because he's trees as far as we know, but like, what are the odds that we actually know the truth in this situation? Because he could be God knows what. I don't really understand the connection with him being trees specifically, aside from the pun, which I approve of,
Also,
if that's the case.
Yeah, the tree. Also, Aspenson, like.
But, I get it. But again, that's connected to like these decisions were made because it's punny.
Yeah. No. True.
Which are the best way to make decisions, I feel. But
yeah, honestly, you should be on board with all that.
yeah, for sure. But either way, it was a fun read. I kind of wish it went on more, because it was a fun read though, because it just sort of stopped. I wish there was something at the end where it's like, okay, we're aware that he's aware of us, so we had to like move our operations from inside his force because they're aware of it now, you know?
Yeah.
Like Vince drops that he knows about some building that's in his force, but there's nothing mentioned that they did anything with it. Meanwhile, this is a report from the SCP Foundation, so I would feel like they would document all the things that they're doing. So like upon the most recent interview, we've moved location of outpost whatever the fuck directly out of the forest of SCP-1075.
Yeah. Or since the latest interview, we've had some high act or some what's the word I'm trying to think of the word for like high traffic in the area, or like we've had a high percentage of activity of people trying to break into SCP-1075, or mostly journalists from the Pagosa Springs newspaper.
Yeah, like using that as a cover, basically. Vince is
like
using that as a cover.
Yeah, Vince is basically trying to get the actual like newspaper of Pagosa Springs, like their journalists and employees, to try and like find the truth. But yeah,
It should be kind of cool. Or hell, it could go more malicious. Like since that interview, the outpost in the vicinity of 1075 was overgrown by trees, and we have not been able to access that. They have not been able to leave, and we have not been able to touch base with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're basically being killed by him.
It also, or even that, or again, like that the staff of the SCP Foundation that's at that site, are they staying there, or are they leaving the city limits of Pagosa Springs? Because like if they're staying there long enough, are they getting infected?
Yeah, that's true.
Are they getting targeted by the vector? And then like maybe some new protocols have to be in place where like it's only like basically you have to like drive in from like out of town, like from out of the city limits to that site every day, because of the risk of becoming infected with the vector, and then like sabotaging the Foundation's work. Because like this Vince guy, like basically Vince is trying to worm his way into like the Foundation staff. It's like, hey guy, come on, like I'm just a good guy. Yeah. Remember that time when we were kids in high school, and you helped me stop the local bullies from defacing my good name? It's time to do it now, it's time to do it now, guy.
What's this accent you've given him?
I don't know. It's just like it's from what is it called? It's some college animated show. The Dougler. I think it's the Dougler from Mike. You remember that show, right?
Undergrads.
The Undergrads. Yes. Yeah. It's from The Undergrads. It's like, hey guy.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. But yeah, your final recommendation.
Forgot where we were.
We're in Pagosa Springs, clearly.
Oh, clear. So yeah, I'm gonna. Okay, I enjoyed the read, but I do feel like it needs a little bit more. So like, I kind of want to give it a partial now, because
Okay.
like I when I was reading through it, I was enjoying it, and then there was no more words, and I was sad.
And then I got sad.
Yeah.
When I had a popsicle stick.
Yeah, passed out. Woke up with a popsicle stick in my mouth.
Yeah. No, I know. Again, that's a fair result. Like, yeah, like wanting more isn't a bad thing in this case either. So.
No, not at all.
Again, it's like same thing. Like I would have liked a little bit more about the task force that was like, and like what, like I would have liked a little bit more in the documentation about like their activities and trying to a little bit more detail in how they are countering the mimetic vibes.
Yeah, because it's actually like there's not much in here written down about like Foundation staff who are monitoring must not stay in the town for more than 72 hours or something like that, because we've had reports of Vince sympathizers showing up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right? Like there's a lot that can be done with this that like it's not done yet, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Like I mean, it sounds bad, but like this could branch out more.
Welcome, brother.
Yes. So yeah, that's where I stand on there. I'm gonna stay planted right there.
Ha All right. Well, then I guess that's it for this week's episode. So, basically, full recommendations, and then one partial.
We liked it, but I'm a little bit of a Disney princess this time.
Yeah, you are the Disney princess this time.
Mm.
How does it feel, gamer?
Pretty nice, actually.
Oh God, does that mean you're Casilda, the princess in yellow?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Casilda was like, I think one of the queen or princess of the King in Yellow in the play.
I thought that was a different name.
There's two technically. There's like Casilda, and then I think there's like Camilla.
Yeah, I think that was the one I was thinking
Yeah.
of.
But anyway, yeah. So
Yes.
also actually kind of actually like kind of appropriate because like the King in Yellow is also a mimetic artifact or anomaly. So
Yep.
But yeah.
Damn straight.
So yeah, that'll do it for this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. We're all on Twitter, kinda.
Not really.
Until it completely drowns in a sea of flames.
It's not Twitter, it's X.
I refuse.
Are you going to die on that hill?
Yep, I will die on that hill.
Good.
Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W at the end because his name is very long.
It is.
And I'm at Review Cultist. I'm also on Blue Sky at Review Cultist, so you can send me messages there. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it.
Yeah!
And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. We've got early access, special episodes, and extra content. To all our patrons helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without these SCP entries that you post on the SCP Foundation, in other words, online, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, these stands for evil.
And I'm in love with Vince.
I'm so happy for you.
Thanks.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.